Hello everyone! Welcome to my first YouTube video in my humble abode. Today I will be reading the UC essays that helped me get into a lot of the UCs, including UCLA, and these were the videos that really helped me throughout the college application process, so I really wanted to return the favor and provide the essays that helped me get into these colleges. So just a little disclaimer, please don't copy any of these essays because these essays are my own personal unique essays, so it wouldn't really make sense for someone else to copy these essays, and also colleges have plagiarism detectors, so it's better to just not copy these essays and just make your own genuine experiences, talk about your genuine experiences. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my first essay, which is prompt number 5. UC prompt number 5. Describe the most significant challenge you've faced and the steps you've taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? There are many ways to eat an elephant. In the humid Taiwan air, I could feel the heat of the 2014 Shilin night market crowd pressing in on my body. In front of me, something startled the seething mass. The screams of people pierced the air. It was a truck, off the motor path, out of control. I looked away. Cold steel met flesh, and I hit the asphalt. For the next few months, I was immobilized and struggled to recuperate. My body was so weak I could hardly do anything on my own. I struggled to form words, grasp new learning material, and maintain focus during class. For the rest of elementary school, every time I stumbled on a word, I would hear a faint giggle from the back of the classroom. Weighed down by my lack of self-esteem and confidence, these problems inevitably affected my academic progress and test scores. How was I going to eat this elephant, this daunting and overwhelming obstacle? I struggled significantly in one class in particular, AP Calc BC. When the teacher, Mrs. Conry, noticed that I seemed withdrawn, she reached out to me and asked me to stay after class. My eyes filled up with tears as I explained my struggles, and without hesitation, she offered me a hug and gave me advice that still resonates within me today. Her words, filled with kindness and warmth, slowed the rampant pounding of my heart and restored my confidence. We worked together on problem sets and test anxiety management weekly. On my own, I would religiously review math concepts during lunch and breaks. Not only did the lessons Mrs. Conry taught me apply to calculus, but they also applied in daily life. She changed my approach to difficult situations. At the end of each month, I felt empowered, capable, and confident as my exam scores began to improve little by little with each session she offered to guide me. Now, rather looking at difficult problems as it is, I tackle problems with a different attitude, a bite at a time. So in this essay, I talked about my academic struggles that I faced in my math class AP Calc BC, and I kind of framed it where the elephant metaphor is the advice that Mrs. Conry, which is my math teacher, gave me. So I kind of started it with the first sentence is, there are many ways to eat an elephant, and kind of made it the outline of my essay. And yeah, I just wanted to include that because it's kind of hard not really seeing the essay, so it would make more sense if you were to see it. So I just wanted to clarify that. UC prompt number 6. Think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside or outside of the classroom. In fables, the moral of the story is printed in ink. In films, the purpose is woven in the scenes. In poetry, the meaning is hidden in the verse. But what about the person who wrote the story? What motivated the author to create the piece? In the world that surrounds us, I'm fascinated by the untold experiences and emotions concealed beneath a person's facade that compose their story. A life as vivid and complex as my own, there sits a tale that is populated with ambitions, routines, and worries. AP Psychology has enriched my joy of learning about how thoughts, feelings, and goals are constructed within a person's mind. In class, we connected psychological concepts and theories to real-life scenarios. But it wasn't until I examined the patterns and motivations between our minds and decisions that captivated my attention. When I was offered to play a cello solo at my school, I was inclined to find a piece that made people feel something, to tell a story that resonates with the audience. In my month-long research, I came across Elgar Cello Concerto Opus 85. Music has a way of connecting people. Intrigued, I wondered, how? Is it through the background story the music describes? How do external circumstances impact behavior and decision-making? Interest piqued by the dramatic flair of the piece, I pondered the decisions why he chose the cello, with its sonorous yet searing dark timbre. In Elgar's last major work, he had fallen ill and was deeply depressed by World War I destruction of the world he thought he had known. Within the first 4 measures, the story unfolds with an assertive yet morose musical sentence. The fragments of this story are told through the notes of the music. Through a year practicing, I connected with Elgar and interpreted his feelings to tell his story to the audience. I learned about the piece beyond its notes and brought it to life. Today, I actively seek to understand social contexts that may influence human behavior. By studying psychology, I'm excited to learn about the person behind the story. So the next UC prompt is prompt number 7, and it's the community service one. This is my absolutely favorite essay out of all the ones I've written, except maybe the Common App one, but this is my favorite one. So it's, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? Good luck with Serene. I had her last year and she was absolutely terrible, a camp counselor remarked as we received our list of campers for our troops. A bit unnerved by this comment, I was still looking forward to making the most out of Buddha's Light Children's Summer Camp. A day later, during the skip practice, Serene stormed out the door and slammed it shut. I already told you, leave me alone, she snapped. Concerned, I placed my hand on the handle. It was locked. After escorting the rest of the campers to the auditorium, I came back for Serene and sat on the ground a few feet away from the locked door. I scoured my mind to find something interesting a 10-year-old girl would want to talk about to help her feel more comfortable talking to me. After spending a few hours talking about her favorite TV shows, she finally opened up the door. Serene lowered her gaze and slumped over. Hey, what's wrong, Serene? I asked. She revealed her fear of her parents' recent divorce and that she often felt ignored at home. Additionally, she was afraid that her mom wasn't going to see her skip for performance. I finally understood. I squatted and met eye to eye with Serene, pausing as her eyes brimmed with tears of fear before explaining that everything was going to be okay. As she relinquished into my embrace, I assured her that regardless of whether or not her mom was there, I was going to be there for her and be her loudest cheerleader. Touched by her vulnerability, I decided to create a nurturing environment where she felt safe and accepted. Although there were some disagreements in our group, the overall atmosphere was more welcoming. While many labeled Serene as the problematic kid, I was unfazed and determined to let her feel loved. On the last day of camp, while we were sharing our goodbyes, she gave me a hug and awarded me the title of her bestest friend in the world. UC prompt number 8. Beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the University of California? Bazi again, I'm so sick of it." The meal stared at me while I glared back at it dejectedly. I poked the gum-like texture of the steamed buns with my fork. Ama, which is grandma in Mandarin, would wake up at 5 a.m. every day with the one goal of making her granddaughter happy while carrying the weight of the world. Free from obligations and the monster under my bed, I still believe in them. The early breakfast mornings were the times my grandma and I would bond over food. She used her wisdom to teach me about the difficult life concepts using food. It was these mornings that I explored the waves of my own fears and pre-existing assumptions and ventured far out into uncharted territories of uncertainty, seeking to discover what it means to be vulnerable. Although I didn't know then, I learned many valuable lessons from these breakfast mornings. Since I was 14, I had not had a bite of these endearing buns until the June of this year. During the last few days, I saw her. The usual morning aroma of Taiwanese-style breakfast had ceased. The bamboo chair was empty. The straw hat was unworn. Ama had passed away. It wasn't until a few days ago when I finally floured my hands and sought out to make steamed buns, just how I would remember from her recipe. Despite the countless trials, I never came close enough to recreating that nostalgic taste. Alma's steamed buns were really not about the flour, the spices, or the ground pork. Instead, they're the product of sharing her love, experiences, and stories. Although I'll never make buns as delicious as hers, the memories that we shared will never be forgotten. Alma had molded me into who I am today. At the University of California, I will be challenged to learn continuously. I hope to apply the lessons Alma has taught me to campus and to share compassion with courage. I'll be challenged to learn to understand our complex emotions, to help others in need, and most importantly, to build community. So that is all for my UC essays, and please let me know if this video was helpful or not, these essays were helpful or not, because I'm planning to make another Common App video. So DM me on Instagram or comment below to let me know if this was helpful or not. Without further ado, I'm gonna segue on to some tips and tricks. I have two. So number one is to start as early as possible, because I personally started in June of my senior year, so I kind of had more time to think about subjects and to cross subjects off of the list. So the thing is, if you have more time to think, you have more ideas that you think about. Because for me, I personally came up with these subjects by looking at random things, inspiration things. I remember for one of my essays, I just looked at something random, and it was I can make that into my essay. Or basically start early, because then you have more time to think about things and to cross things off the list. But yeah, moving on to tip number 2 is to reuse as many essays as possible. So personally, a little secret here is after starting in June, I kind of stopped because I kind of had a writer's block and I just couldn't write for some reason. So I just, was I set them aside for now. And I moved on to the Common App essays, where I wrote other college essays like the supplements. And these UC essays were actually reused from my other essays, and I kind of tweaked them to make it fit within the prompt. So I kind of added or subtracted or kind of tweaked the outline of the essay to make it fit the prompt of the prompts. So yeah, please reuse as many essays as possible because you don't want to write like 100 essays. On average, I think the average like college applicant writes around like 20 to 30 essays, so you don't want to write more than that because it's just exhausting and you're gonna run out of ideas. Reuse as many essays as possible. But yeah, that is all for today. Please let me know if this video was helpful or not on Instagram or DM me in the comments. But yeah, I hope you have a great day and good luck on your college essays.